the youth, their parents and family members, the elders, anybody who has a stake in the health and well-being of our young people and their families, is bringing forward their knowledge.
Currently with the housing crisis, that our families need support beyond just the core of the city, where all of our social service agencies have kind of been established over the years. So it's really become an effort to bring people together in South King County, and it's also turned into a really great opportunity for Seattle Indian Health Board to re-engage with the community and really kind of get back to being like a grassroots community agency.
The Spirit Walk and the Spirit of Indigenous Peoples Day is grounded in community visibility. It's an opportunity for us to demonstrate why it is, despite a history of genocide and colonization, that we still exist today. And that's what Circles of Care is about. It's about revitalizing those kind of cultural ways of knowing, those cultural ways of living.
Using all of those elements of storytelling that we have available to us now, whether it was web-based materials or actually getting out into the community, going to people's homes, going to our health centers, our various community centers, various community gatherings, that's what the work entails. The Circles of Care family, they really got out there and put themselves on the line and open their own hearts and their own minds to the stories that would come. And that's in a really old way as well, is being able to hold that space or even nurture the space that may not have been there previously, as they come share a meal with us, learn about our project, but also we just want to talk. We just want to hear what your experience is. That's the way we've been building community for the longest, on the res and in the city and everywhere in between. We do the work because we know that the work is necessary.
Andrew one day showed me these backpacks he had, and we call them swag bags, and they have the Circles of Care logo on them, and then inside the backpacks there's journals and a pen and some other little goodies for students. The first kids who I ever gave them to was some of the Native foster children that I work with at my school. I eat breakfast with them every morning. They come back in the afternoon for wraparound care. And I know that they go through a lot, and with children living in the foster care system, it's really unfortunate that sometimes you just have to pack up and go. Things happen. Sometimes you have to move in the middle of the night without any warning, and often all you have is that bag. You get one bag. It doesn't matter what fits in there or what's most important to you. Is you get one bag for all your stuff. I want them to have a positive correlation of pack your bag doesn't always have to mean something negative, but here's a backpack for you to have. You can put whatever you want in it and it's yours. And this is welcoming you to whatever happens in your foster family circle. You're always going to be a part of our community, whether you move here or there. Even if you get split up, this will be the place where we can always come back together.
The visibility is always heightened when we challenge ourselves to tell a fuller narrative about community and nation, land and family and culture. So I think in that way, literally each time the story about the aims and the scope of work of Circles of Care was told, it was not just telling the story of the work and the community, but also creating it. And that's a really old way of sort of approaching story.
Within my own personal life, my kids are going to be starting middle school soon. Eventually they're going to be in high school and college, and then thinking about my relationship with Andrew Morrison as an artist and how this new school is being built, and his murals, the Native murals, are a big part of that remodeling, and that if they go to school there, they will be able to see, look at these walls, there's people who look like me. Look at that story over there. I know that guy. It's a reality that we are a part of this community. There are people who look like us. There are people who care about us, and that there are people who are going to work hard to support Indigenous people in the community.
The other thing Circles of Care has done is really educated, non-Native health professionals. I think that the the Urban Indian 101 trainings and just even interacting with some of our providers, those types of things have been very effective.
Looking at what we know of the youth who are commercially sexually exploited and looking at the youth who are in the foster care system, there's a disproportionately high number of Native youth. And when we looked at who the partners were at the table, we did not have anyone of the Native community at the table. And we outreached Seattle Indian Health Board, and that's specifically because of the relationship we developed because of Circles of Care. And if that grant wasn't there, I don't think we would have had that relationship we have now.
In King County, historically, around the rise of social justice movements, there was strong connection between all of the Indian organizations here and also other communities of color. And what we see now here in Seattle, King County, is there's a new wave of leadership. And that new wave of leadership recognizes the original vision of folks like Bernie White Bear and the American Indian Women's Service League, to have all of these Indian organizations working together to best meet the needs of this population.
It's night and day from the beginning of the project in terms of, I can think of community members and I can think of professionals that, it would take 2 to 3 weeks for them to call us back at the beginning of this project, that we call them now, like they get right back to us. So I think for me that shows that people are really valuing the project and seeing people get excited in the community about future funding. It's like how often does that happen, that you just have community members talking about grant applications and being so excited about it.
The community is going to keep things going by meeting together and looking at the materials that have come from Circles of Care.
What you find in nonprofit organizations often is that we try to follow the funding streams. Instead of listening to our community first, defining those needs, and then building a funding strategy around those. More of a braided funding strategy is both sustainable and keeps you focused. We've created a system where all of our grant projects are beginning to intersect with one another. And they build upon one another so that we have more diverse funding streams and we have multiple funding sources to contribute to large activities, which can be very challenging to fund in just one grant.
We are coming from so many different places, and to have this shared knowledge and understanding and teaching helps us in our walk.
Knowing that these kids are the next generation, they're going to be the teachers, they're going to be the principals, they're going to be the advisory board members, they're going to be the elders one day, but hopefully starting with the younger generation and teaching them the value of being a part of this community and supporting each other. I feel like that is going to have a ripple effect for several generations. Thank you.